Greetings and salutations, listener. It is I, Eric J. Chucky, joined, as always, by the boy.
Hey.
This here is the Two Nerds Podcast, and this week we are talking about bards.
Yep.
Bards are a class in D&D that has long been mocked and reviled, and I feel like 4th edition started to turn them into wizards. And then 5th edition has really made them a good, viable, interesting, multifaceted class.
That's a pretty good summation. I mean, to be fair, bards were mocked and reviled because their class was bad.
Yeah, no, I mean, previous editions, in different games, like, not even just D&D, the bard is almost universally crap. They were fun in Lord of the Rings Online.
Yes, they were.
And honestly, some of the stuff they could do in that game is kind of carried over into 5th edition, so, yeah, you know, I ain't saying nothing, but nice job.
But it's always been an interesting concept. I've often found it weird that a guy who does magic with music and like is a traveling minstrel but also casts spells with his guitar was such a strong idea that they made a whole class out of it in 3rd edition.
Well, the bards have been around, I believe, since 2nd edition.
I don't think the class was. I think it was like a concept that
I want to say it
multi-classed
was
for.
Unearthed Arcana, but I don't have that for sure, and I don't care to play Let's Google shit with Whitey here on the Two Nerds Podcast. But yeah, in 3rd edition, like, okay, bard, you are the mix of wizard and rogue, because you can pretend to say fighter goes in there, but it does not. You are a mix of wizard and rogue. But, like, you're not a very wizardy wizard.
And you're not a very roguey rogue. You're kind of shit at both.
In 4th edition, when they gave them healing, I thought that was a great idea.
And they kept that in 5th edition, and that's smart.
And they gave them better support buffs overall. Inspiration is just a great mechanic.
Yeah, it's just a really fun mechanic that gets a lot of use at the table.
Especially if you have a group that doesn't use, like, regular inspiration a lot. Bardic inspiration is a good boon to have.
Yeah, especially because if you don't use regular inspiration, bardic inspiration, it doesn't become confusing. It's the only kind of inspiration you know about.
Yeah.
And none of our groups really use regular inspiration. It's just a rule that falls through the cracks because it's new and we're grognards.
I've actually handed it out several times, but we always forget.
Yep.
That's bards. They sing. They are, if you're up on the D&D memes, they will seduce in anything. I did that as a druid. Which makes a little bit more sense, at least, because I could shapeshift.
Like, I don't...
I was living for that upset pause.
They don't, I'm not someone who's, like, inherently drawn to the idea of, yeah, I'll be a guy with a fucking lute. I'll be the guy who sings Brave, Brave Sir Robin, but also I can cast buff spells. But the mechanics of Bard in 5th edition have been very intriguing. Whereas in previous editions, I was never really into the idea of playing a Bard at all.
They felt like a shitty Gestalt class.
Yeah, it was a joke from Order of the Stick. One of the main characters is a bard, and he has an evil twin, and the evil twin is like a horrible multi-classed rogue, sorcerer, something else, and is more effective because bard is a shit class.
But they're strong in 5th edition, delightfully so.
They are not strong in the same ways as other classes. They are, I would say, the most support class. Cleric is the biggest, biggest, baddest heal bot. But in terms of being a straight support class, I think it's Bard.
Yeah. And you can kind of flavor that different ways depending on the choices you make. Bard retains and perhaps has the best example of its jack of all trades. And you're still master of none, but...
But, like, one, in 5th edition, skill checks don't go that high anyway.
Right.
Now, jack of all trades is only ever a +2. Like, it gets as high as it gets at, like, level 6 or whenever you get a level... When do you get the +4 proficiency bonus?
That's pretty late. That's,
It's like 8 or 9.
9, something like that.
And then it never gets any stronger for the rest of the class, because it's half rounded down, so the maximum proficiency bonus is 5. It's only ever a +2. But you'd be surprised how much you feel that +2.
And that is good. I was speaking in the broader sense of the colloquialism, jack of all trades.
I was speaking of the specific class feature.
Right. A bard can... Well, it exemplifies it. A bard can do skills in a similar way to the rogue, but not as good. Rogues get a shit ton of skills and expertise in many of them. Bards, not so much.
I don't know about that. Bards, by the end of the class, get expertise in like 5 skills.
Do they?
Yeah, pull it up. It's right in their class feature. Expertise. It's literally called expertise. Just scroll down. It's in their main features. At 3rd level, they get expertise in like 3 skills, and then they get it later and more. Eventually...
I think you're thinking of lore bard.
No, I'm
specifically. Oh, nope, there it is. 10th level. There's an expertise.
And one at 3rd level, too.
Yeah. I just don't see it after that is all.
Yeah, they get... you start with any 3 skills, and then you have your 2 skills from your background, and by the end of it, you should have expertise in all of those. They are literally better at skills than rogue.
Oh, I guess they are. All right, I take that back. So bards are your skill monkey class.
Yeah.
In addition to being...
I have some issues with rogue in 5th edition. I feel like they got a lot of their things they're good at cut out from under them, in a way. But we're not on rogue yet. We're talking about bards.
Yeah. I used to main rogues. So let's we've talked about bards in general a lot. They can cast spells. It's a specific list, but it's broader than you'd expect.
It's a good spell list. It's not the sorcerer spell list. It's not full of damage spells, but if you're looking for magic to supplement your character and the rest of the party doing well, it is a great list.
It's as good as the druid spell list.
No. It is way worse than the druid spell list. The druid spell list is the best spell list in the game.
Okay. I mean, they have the same access to healing spells. With the Bard's Magical Secrets, they can grab those 1 or 2, like, big boom spells from any
The Druid
other class.
spell list has better healing spells and better damage spells and the best spells in the game.
I don't have time to research that right now, but I am pretty sure I did this a couple of months ago. And, like, Cleric... Druid and Bard have way more overlap than either of us ever think they do.
That's true. I didn't get a good look at the Bard spell list, so maybe it has a lot more overlap with Druid than I think it does.
At least in terms of healing. I can't vouch for the rest of their spell list, but I'm almost positive that I checked on this. Anyway, minutia discussion aside, they can do a little bit of everything, especially skills. There's subclasses, though, the colleges. That's where you get most of the flavor from... anything in 5th edition.
And Bard has a lot of very specific built-in flavor because their colleges are like in-universe things. Like if you're a college of glamour, if you're a college of lore bard, you literally will tell people that you are a bard of the college of lore, like the Bard's College in Skyrim. And that's neat. I don't use that in my setting, but that's neat.
It's a cool option. It's like, monks who trained at different monkeries, or clerics to different gods and stuff. It's nice to have an in-universe institution as an option, as a suggested option.
Yeah. I actually think it's really neat. I just don't have any need for it.
The brief rundown, because, we'll talk about a couple more in depth here in a minute. Is that you have the very, very new Eloquence Bard, which is super versatile.
See, I read this and found it really underwhelming. It's Unearthed Arcana content, so I'm sure it'll get a little polishing up, but a bunch of the mid-level stuff is just really underwhelming for me.
I like being able to speak to any creature.
Yeah, I like that. It doesn't imply that they can speak back, though, which I actually sort of like. Because it's not about them talking to you.
And their 6th level feature is so good that... And their 14th level, and usually Bard's Keystones, their 14th level...
Yeah, usually Bard Keystones are crap.
They're crap, but Infectious Inspiration. So what we're talking about here...
Infectious Inspiration is really fucking good. I want to talk to you about Undeniable Logic, actually, because I read this and didn't think it was very good at all.
As a bonus action, you can expend one of your uses of Bardic Inspiration. When you do, choose a creature you can see in 60 feet that can hear you. Roll your Bardic Inspiration die and choose one of the following. They take psychic damage equal to the number you roll and must succeed an intelligence save against your spell DC or have disadvantage on the next saving throw they make before the end of your next turn.
That's not amazing. That's like 8 damage.
That's 8 damage, but that's disadvantage
on saves.
On a save.
And speaking of someone who has a magic item that gives disadvantage on saves is real good. So that's fair. That's fair.
The creature regains hit points equal to the number you roll, and the creature has advantage on the next save it makes before the end of your next turn.
Again, that's not that much, but the advantage and disadvantage is something I kind of looked over before.
Consider this, my friend. There are so many D&D podcasts, articles, think pieces, players who say Healing Word is a broken fucking spell.
At low levels it is. It falls off late levels.
And that's fine. At 6th level, as a bonus action, without a spell slot, you can cast a better Healing Word than 1st level, obviously. It doesn't get higher levels. But you get advantage on a save as well. And that is not a spell.
No, it only costs Bardic Inspiration, of which you will probably have 3 to 5.
So you can still cast a regular-ass spell, too.
Yeah, that's actually... I just was underestimating that.
Yeah, I find that very awesome. And you know what? I mean, like, a D6, D8, you're not going to end up with much, especially without a flat multiplier, or a modifier, excuse me.
Yeah, you'll get 2.
But,
4 max.
I mean, being able to chip somebody down, you know, it's great to give somebody inspiration, but...
It's the disadvantage that's really good.
The disadvantage and the advantage are really nice. And a little bit of healing can go a long way.
In a pinch.
Yeah.
Oh, you could use this as like for people who are at 0.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Oh, that actually does make it a lot more.
Get up, my little friend. Bam. And there they are. They've got 4 hit points and they have advantage on their next save.
Get the fuck up, samurai.
So, I like Eloquence a lot. I think it's really solid.
I think it's rough around the edges still, but
sure.
I think the finalized version might be really good.
We've got Glamour that revolves a lot around...
being pretty. Being you're fucking Derek Zoolander.
Being charming.
It says specifically unearthly beauty.
Oh, sure, yeah. But
you are Derek Zoolander. Their capstone is literally like, what is it? Magnum?
I can't attack you, Mr. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. I don't like that it's so revolved around specifically glamour. Like, I like a lot of the stuff.
It's fake glamour. You're a fairy. You are trained by the fairies.
Spoiler alert. I don't want to play a fucking fairy. And that's not anything to do with, like, you know...
No, you just don't like the fae very much.
I just don't care much about... Like, I'm not all up in that shit. To me, fairies are a mysterious thing for me to interact with, not a mysterious thing for me to be.
You never would have played an Eladrin in 4th edition.
No.
Yeah. Whereas, like, if you're playing, like, a elf bard... College of Glamour is a great way to really turn into that Eladrin skill. Or Eladrin's a playable class, a playable race in 5th edition. Play an Eladrin bard and really, really just be fairy.
Well, and you can refluff this as well, but like
you can.
I've had the issue in the past with built-in fluff making me recoil a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is I actually want to talk about that because one of the things that excited me for this podcast was that there are both of the campaigns I'm currently in, when I'm DMing, when I'm playing, there is a bard who is not me. And in both of the most recent sessions of this game, in like the last 2 days, the bard really shined in the big battle. And and neither of them are bards, really. One is very much like a bard, but certainly not the bard it on paper says she should be.
Yeah.
And the other one is like just a mage. He's just a regular mage, although his class is bard, and that's really cool. The mechanics are solid enough that they can deal with really heavy refluffing without much in the way of shake.
I feel like that's 5th edition in general, and I do want to dive a little bit deeper into those instances specifically, because specific examples are always fun in podcasts like this. Otherwise, it's a lot of people saying the same thing. But we'll get to that in a little bit with the subversions that we plan on doing. Lore Bard is actually the bard that is in our Saturday night games.
She's not a jester?
No, Lore Saturday night.
Oh, yeah.
Lore Bard is extra magical secrets, which is really cool.
Magical secrets is the best bard.
That's so cool. Cutting words, which is awesome.
And is super goddamn effective, I can say, as the DM.
They get the bonus skill training.
They are the skill monkey du jour. They are the absolute tip of the top when it comes to being good at skills.
Now, their capstone
is garbage.
Skill, I mean, it's okay.
It basically means that, you are not going to fail a skill check. You're just not.
Yeah, but it's... Ooh, that's what I get at 14th level?
Yeah,
cool.
like I said, bard skill caps are usually garbage.
Satire is our Sunday bard.
Yeah, she's not the fluff in there. She is not a jester.
We'll get to that.
I kind of want to play one of those, like, to the hilt.
I kind of do as well.
Put on the motley and the jingle bell hat and really go to town.
I've been reconsidering my Clizzard as a bard.
Yes, a satire bard.
Well, not even necessarily a satire bard. I was actually thinking, ironically, as this character would be mute, eloquence. Because of the calm emotion things. It's cool. I'm fine. Here's a happy clown. Calm down, everyone.
And instead of being unearthly beautiful, it's they can't attack you because he's making fucking balloon animals. Look at him, he's so great.
But College of Satire is really cool because they're very mobile. They can read minds, and their Fool's Luck is just a neat use of the feature. It's not great. I would have rather had that at an earlier level. Honestly, Fool's Insight is stronger.
I swap Fool's Insight and Fool's Luck, and I feel like it's a much better... It feels better.
Yeah, but this is also still another Unearthed Arcana class that hasn't made it to the forefront.
Yeah, it's again could use some polishing, but it's really fun. I love how mobile they are, I actually love their built-in fluff.
Yeah, they're fun. I like clowns, but College of Swords.
College of Swords and College of Valor seem very redundant to me.
They are and they aren't.
I get why there's both. I do. There's a good reason for there to be both.
Yeah, they're
one is
mechanically...
Errol Flynn, and the other one is a fighter.
They're mechanically very different, but...
But both are sword guy.
Yeah.
One is a skald. One is like a...
And that's College of Valor. College of Swords is more Errol
It's Errol Flynn. It's Jack Sparrow. It's...
And Valor follows it, obviously, as we were just saying. Finally, College of Whispers, and again, I don't care for their
College of Whispers mechanics are inherently turned towards making a dickhead. Like, more than any other class, it would resist refluffing, I feel like, because their mechanics are so inherently turned towards making you a shitty person.
Yeah, like they've got some really cool stuff there, but it's all very manipulative. And that's why I don't like charm effects a whole lot. Like, I like to roll a check. I like for my character to win friends and influence people, not make people do what they say.
There are good characters that do that.
Yeah,
But, like, even more than regular charm spells, which can be used in a very benign way of, the guard's being a shit, just talk us through. But all the mechanics of College of Whispers, and it's, to be fair, it's in their fluff, it's baked in, they're shitheads. It really, even the raw mechanics really incentivize you to be like a shitty person.
Yeah. I believe our Melody, our Saturday Night Bard, probably could have also done College of Whispers, and good lord, the damage increase.
I feel like if Melody, the Sunday game bard, was College of Whispers, it's one of the few versions of the character who wouldn't be a shit.
No, I think
she's from the demiplane of Dread. She's from like Ravenloft, essentially. So she's just kind of seen some shit.
Yeah, it's very baked into the character.
But Jester has more fun mechanics. So
We like bards a lot. As we're already at the 20-minute point, and we haven't quite hit the favorites and the least favorites. We were well past this point with barbarian. What would you say is your favorite subclass of all of those?
Honestly, right now, satire.
Yeah.
It's doesn't have the best capstone. I would say, like, lore maybe has a good capstone, but satire. The mechanics are just fun. I really like the built-in fluff. It's the one I read that immediately gave me ideas for a character. Because full disclosure, I haven't read through all of the bard stuff until now. I've picked and prodded at it as I was helping people level up, or just sort of looking over stuff so I could DM it properly. But I haven't really like deep dived into it until like today, and I really like satire. Gave me immediate character ideas.
Yeah.
So did eloquence. But not a character I want to play. That's an NPC.
I really like Eloquence Bard. I really think Valor is solid. And I think Whisper's pure damage is enticing.
I think there was another Unearthed Arcana one. If you want to switch to all sources, I seem to remember a different thing.
Different versions of swords. We had different versions of Glamour and Whispers.
What's the one that has Undeniable Logic? Is that
Eloquence?
That's
Eloquence.
Yeah. That's the NPC that I plan on using. That's
but I think honestly, Eloquence is my favorite right now.
Own the PCs with facts and logic.
But
I'm gonna do that.
Live your life. I don't think there's a bad Bard College. Like,
I disagree.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, Valor is just shitty fighter.
Well, I mean, yeah, but at the same time, you get all the other Bard shit.
Right, but if I wanted to play just a fighter with some Bard shit, I would have rather just multi-classed. It's just not. It feels so. That's all.
Battle Magic is pretty good.
Battle Magic is okay, but that's 14th level.
Sure.
The early stuff is just, I get to dress like a cleric. And they can use my Bardic Inspiration for damage or AC. That's nice. But
I don't know. I feel like that's...
it's so underwhelming compared to swords, which it obviously will draw comparisons to.
And I think that's the thing with Bard, and I think why I step away from swords a little bit. Not that it's bad. I think if I have a least favorite, it's going to be Glamour, just because I'm not attracted to the fluff.
Yeah.
Whispers is similar in that sense that I'm not attracted to the fluff, but that psychic damage they can do, that's basically sneak attack damage, that's really cool.
Yes.
But Bard in general, mechanically speaking, on paper is really underwhelming. When you have a Bard in your party, and you guys are, operating around that, everybody else is going to be doing bombastic shit, and the Bard is quietly making everyone else's numbers go up.
Brave Sir Robin.
I mean, that's Bard in a nutshell. So if you've got something that's like really bombastic, to me it doesn't feel. I'm not saying it doesn't feel like Bard, but it's one of those things that starts to edge into slightly different territory, which is why College of Whispers stands out as edgelord class. Which is why College of Swords stands out as that loud Errol Flynn sort of thing, like you said.
Whereas for me, the class that is, the magical entertainer should be bombastic. It shouldn't fade into the background.
And that's the thing. I feel like that's how it works with Bard, is because your character is going to be so loud that their mechanics don't need to be.
That's fair.
Ironically, and now that we are here to, how to subvert Bards, our two Bards that we play with right now, are not super bombastic.
No.
Neither of them.
No. And in one case, it works well. It fits. Because Beard's character isn't bombastic, but he is present. He is driving the narrative, and that's important, and that's good. You
guys remember David. He's been on previous podcasts. If you want to go through our history and listen to his insight on things, there he is.
But Melody her mechanics are really quiet. She's just quietly making everyone at the table better at their jobs.
Amazingly so.
And the character is, intentionally, as I've understood it, almost mute in how little she talks or, approaches other people because of the background of the character. She's very much not to put too fine a spoiler on it, she's very much a Dark Souls NPC. She's just there, waiting, ready, and badass.
Every now and then says things like, don't you dare go hollow. And you're like, oh, I'm inspired.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and she's really, really effective.
Ridiculously.
This bard is literally, we went through, this is a game I play, we went through like a dungeon, and there were like several boss encounters throughout the dungeon. That bard is the only reason our party lived. Just full stop.
I didn't even realize until after the fact, like hours after the fact, how much preventative action that she managed to accomplish.
By just throwing out debuffs and polymorphs and just stopping the bosses from doing all the broken shit high-level 5th edition bosses can do. She locked them down and prevented them from doing all the stuff which would have murdered us until we could kill them. And, like, she is the reason the party lived.
Yeah.
Full stop.
I love utility spells for that reason. I love spells that seem innocuous, but can end up doing amazing things. Like, polymorph seems like something you're going to take if you're like, oh, I need to disguise myself a lot. I want to get into a place. That's the initial reason.
If you're doing hijinks.
Or hijinks, sure. But,
she used it like a WoW mage.
Yeah. She geeked the boss.
She sheeped the thing to prevent it from to prevent its bar from filling and fucking us all up.
And to give people an opportunity to hit it without its weaknesses. Or without its resistances.
Yeah, and it was A+. It put through, it gave our rogue the chance to sneak attack and put through just a fucking mountain of damage on both bosses, because the rogue didn't have a magic weapon, or she has a magic sword, but not a magic bow, and she's a ranged rogue. So she wasn't, and doesn't, I mean, why would she want to get in melee with the things she can't fight? So she wasn't doing much damage at all, but the bard was able to give her the opportunity to get one sneak attack through, and at 10th level, one sneak attack is all the rogue really needs.
Yeah. That right there was an eighth of the boss's health, and this was with a planar warrior, or a Horizon Walker ranger, blasting at it constantly.
And then my sorcerer.
Not to mention our barbarians, your sorcerer.
But, and, like, in the Sunday game that I DM, I had designed the encounter to be, to essentially be, now that they're past it, I can go ahead and say this, a swamp. Like, it was in this desert dungeon where everything was, like, weirdly wet and squishy, but not just, like, thematically a swamp, mechanically. It was supposed to drag them down and slow them down and suck assets out so that when the boss battle happened, it would happen.
Still waiting on that boss battle.
Yeah, they triggered the boss battle right about at the end of the session. It was good. But the bard really limited, like he really like lowered the amount of resource it was going to take by just excellently utilizing bard abilities combined with the other players and just really fucking up all the enemies. Like, it was the most effective use of Bane I've ever seen in anything.
Bane and cutting words and very judicious use of inspiration. Whereas compared to Melody in the typical Sunday game...
just tosses out inspiration every turn until she runs out.
Yeah. Which, given the way Bardic Inspiration returns, is not a terrible idea.
No, short rest. That's actually something else I noticed. Bard isn't quite Warlock, but it is a class that would really shine in many short encounters as opposed to one big fight. And... in the last session of both games, that's what we had, was many short encounters, and the bards really shine.
Once you learn time management for D&D, a lot of options open up for you, and I'm so glad I'm starting to learn time management for D&D. So that's enough, really, about those bards, I suppose. I mean, fluff speaking, we've got a College of Satire bard whose sense of humor is dark and mostly internal. Probably is really, really funny in the Dark Souls-based demi-plane of dread that she comes from, where everyone is sad and, like, a sort of grim observation is... Yeah.
She's crestfallen knight.
Yeah, basically. And the other one is not a wizard. Those are ways to play around with your expectations of what a bard can be. But I'm going to ask you. You think of bard and you think of the fop or the sex machine, depending on which era of Dungeons and Dragons.
Full-on jester clown. That's the bard I'm playing.
That's the bard you want to play. But how would you subvert the bard? How would you take a concept for a bard and go, this is a little different?
I would probably play, like... I would probably try and play, like, very much... When in 4th edition, I once played a wizard who was a commoner. He dressed like a commoner, he acted like a commoner, he spoke very rough and tumble, he wore regular clothes, he wasn't hot, fancy or highfalutin, he just happened to be really, really, really goddamn smart. That's what I would do, is I would play a bard who isn't fancy. Yeah. He's not refined, he's not, like... I would play the bard who is the funniest guy at your local pub. But that's about it.
Yeah, get like a decent con and strength score. Maybe he's just a lad.
Yeah, just a lad.
Yeah, I like that.
Just a bro. Just the kind of guy he would invite you to come skull some natty ices with him and hang out and play Smash Brothers. And you wouldn't want to do that, but like he's so fun to hang around, you might say yes. That's how I would subvert the bar. Just a mad lad.
I think if I were specifically going to subvert the class, like make it as against the stereotypes as possible, I think I'd go for an orator, a very dour professional person who has been in very important political things and uses bardic inspiration instead of, here's a jaunty tune you might enjoy, a little bit more like, I was there at the walls and we fought to the last, be inspired, you know.
So you would do like the St. Crispin's Day bard?
Sure. And just use the bardic inspiration that way, just be a really, like, I don't know, like a fucking Greek politician kind of thing.
Yeah, just like...
I think it'd be kind of cool. I also saw recently on Reddit somebody mentioning playing a suffering for my art sort of bard. Not to the comical extent, but like the red clown, traditionally speaking. You know, the sad clown, if you would.
Pagliacci.
Yeah. I think that's kind of interesting. Someone whose performance art is, you know, tragedy. And of course, my personal favorite that I've used to death to the point that it feels like a stereotype now, Johnny Cash.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's not a subversion to me anymore. That's just a bard.
I've just used it so much that that's what it is. Kind of like a skald. I mean, that was a subversion, 10 years ago. Now, no, that's right there.
Yeah, it's one of the class options.
But you said if someone called upon you to play a bard right now, you'd
Jester
go
Clown.
Jester
Absolutely.
Clown.
Satire Jester Clown. I would have motley and jingle bell shoes, and I would be a shit. I would be an absolute irrepressible shit.
I have so many options for it that I
would bust out the absolute, like, insult roast comedy on every NPC.
Yeah. So you'd play one of your old characters, but instead of a wizard, a bard.
But, like, not dry.
Right.
Not
Right.
Like an actual jester. Like the guy who would point out that the king was a great big fat motherfucker who eats the peasants' food. And everyone at the table laughs. Because traditionally, if you don't laugh at the jester, that means he's right. Ooh, touched a nerve, did I? I would be almost compelled to use Barbossa's accent for the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, that'd be pretty sick. Yeah, bards are really, versatile. I mean, that's what they are.
Yep.
You could be a pirate really easily. You could be a clown. You could be a spy master. You can be, like, I just feel like so much comes out of bard. And I, in all my years of playing, have only ever actually played with, like, one foppish dandy.
And and I don't understand where that stereotype comes from, because I get that it's the base fluff, but, like, it's so not what I would think of as a bard. That's what I was talking about, is how is that what that class is? How is that the stereotype for that class? Where is that coming from?
I mean, Brave Sir Robin.
Like, I guess but there has to be some deeper lore, like deeper fantasy thing that D&D was stealing from, because it certainly didn't come from Tolkien. And I don't...
No, the only bard in that was a fucking badass.
Yeah, he was. That's what I mean. Like, I don't get where the foppish, frilled shirt dandy slash medieval rock star came from. I don't get why the stereotype for bard is the main character of the movie Amadeus.
I think...
Although he is a bard. If you look at how ridiculously charismatic he is in that movie.
Whatever inspired Lelywin the Loquacious, which is an old Forgotten Realms character, Lelowin the Loquacious is basically the bard
So
in D&D canon.
So, like, whatever inspired that player.
Well, yeah, that player, that writer, that DM. It's a fop who pretends to be really good at stuff and isn't, and is really annoying.
Yeah, I'm baffled. Bard has so much more going for it than that.
Yeah, and if your bards are all...
And if you want to be that, that's fine. I don't hate it.
Sure.
But, like, I wouldn't play that ever.
And that's not what springs to mind for me either. Like, it just... I mean, yeah, 15 years ago, sure. Back when the hobby was still in its teen years, I guess you could say.
Yeah, those were the edgy years.
Yeah. When everything was more about codifying things in a way of making fun of them than actually exploring the space and having fun in it.
It was, that was a time when everything was very, like, the tongue was too far in the cheek.
You are the stereotype, and that's funny.
I mean, it can be, but,
and it
like,
can be.
More flavors of ice cream, please.
Yeah. That's, another thing. I'm bleeding into rogue here, but that's Bard. Memes I've seen a lot lately are rogues with edgy backstories, and I've never seen one of those.
I played a rogue with, like, he was a criminal background. That's about as he wasn't edgy. He was happy.
Yeah.
He had, like, a fine home life.
Sure. I think our good friend and roommate Ben, who was on the podcast that Ben was on,
now with Ben.
Now with more Ben. He played a rogue who some people were kind of mean to, but that was really the long and short of it.
Yeah, he had like a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
I don't know where game shops, I guess, but I don't know where else y'all are running into these people who are like playing these weird ass stereotypes. I don't see them.
I mean, I guess of all of them, Rogue would be the class that I would expect to have the edgy backstory.
Sure, yeah, you dress all in black and you sit in the corner and you try to steal from the party. That I fucking run into.
Yeah, oh yeah. Look, Belcar Bitterleaf, that stereotype exists for a fucking reason.
That's the one that I...
He's not even a rogue, but come on.
But anyway, that's Bards. We've talked about them, and I kind of want to play one.
Same. Like, a lot more now than yesterday.
D&D, man, it's a hell of a drug.
Everything's better when nerds talk about it.